When I make a North American fighter kite, I use carbon fiber for my spine. I used to use bamboo all the time, and I love bamboo, but carbon fiber is really durable, quite reliable in its characteristics, and relatively inexpensive and readily available. Bamboo in the United States is not all that readily available, at least not the kind of bamboo that you may want for making a spine or even a bow for a North American fighter kite. Now, I use flat carbon for my spines typically because it's so easy. It's the size I use is 1 millimeter thick by 4 millimeters wide. This is a spine I took out of a kite that I destroyed. I didn't like the way it flew. It had some errors in it I didn't like, so I saved the spine but trashed the rest of the kite. Now, in a flat carbon fiber spine, you really have only one way to bend it for the spine bend, and that is with a tension line to allow you to adjust the bend and to put the bend in the first place. Now you can adjust the bend pretty easily once you have I use a taut line hitch knot, which allows me to adjust it and it stays where it is adjusted. So that's quite simple if you use flat carbon. But if you don't have a flat piece of carbon fiber and you want to make a North American fighter kite, but you do have a carbon rod of 1.5 millimeter, 0.06 inch diameter, or 0.07 inch diameter, some kind of a carbon rod that you could use if you could figure out how to make the bend in the spine. You can make the bend the same way with a tension line. It's just the same. The trouble is, with a round piece of carbon, you have to orient the carbon in or on the kite sail, in the kite. You have to orient it so it's bending at its natural bending place. And you discover where that is by bending it and rotating it in your fingertips, and you can feel it kind of jump from one place to another. The place where it jumps to is its natural place of bending. Right here is one. So once you find that, you have to be very careful about maintaining it when you put the spine in the kite. And if you put a tension line on the spine, you need to make sure the tension line is lined up with that same natural bend in the carbon that you're using. Another way, and an easier way, is to use a piece of aluminum tubing. This is aluminum tubing that has an inside diameter. It's a hobby type of aluminum. It's very thin wall, very lightweight. This is about 2 inches long. Doesn't have to be that long, but that's how long this is. It's about 0.061 inch inside diameter, I think. I'm going to put this piece of carbon in it. So if I'm using this carbon for a spine and a kite, and I use this aluminum tubing, all I have to do is bend the aluminum tubing however I want it, and that bends the carbon fiber rod as well. And because it does it this way, you can adjust the amount of bend anytime you want, even while you're flying the kite. Or not while it's flying, but when you're out flying it, you can stop and make a bend more or less. Plus, you can slide this up and down the spine. Now, typically you would glue the spine to the sail, so this aspect isn't necessarily a benefit while you're out flying, but while you're making the kite, positioning this where you want it can be really beneficial. Now, because of the way this works, it automatically finds the natural bend in the spine. So when you glue or tape or insert the carbon fiber rod spine into your kite, if you do it so it's like this, it's automatically going to be aligned correctly. Now, one aspect of a very sharp, thin nose in a fighter kite is that when it crashes, it will most likely, the spine will most likely poke through the sail. You don't really want that, of course. So what I do is once this is set up, and before I attach it to the sail of the kite, I cut a couple of pieces of the carbon rod about, maybe ½ inch long, and I super glue them one on each side of the nose of the spine. Now, after they're dry, I do this, I glue them on wax paper because, well, this is a really good way to prevent the glue from sticking to something you don't want it to stick to. And I'm aligning this so that the orientation is exactly as it's supposed to be when I glue it. Once it's dry, then this becomes a much bigger surface area when the kite crashes, and it allows the kite sail a much larger area to be glued to and taped to, so that it doesn't just poke through on the first crash of the kite. So this is, and carbon fiber rods are very readily available in multiple sizes. This aluminum tubing, I discovered, can be bought on aliexpress.com. Just type in aluminum tubing and the rough idea of the inside diameter you want or the outside diameter, and you can buy them in pre-cut lengths, get a whole bunch of them, or under $2, I think. So it's not expensive to do it this way, and it allows you lots of flexibility, plus allows you to use carbon fiber rods, maybe rods you wouldn't use normally as a bow. You can use them as a spine very effectively.